96 KIX got my Author of the Week with me, Stacy Young. How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and I love your energy.
Oh, thank you.
So how are you? You been doing good?
Yeah, good, but very, very busy. You know, God's blessing me to be able to write about a lot of different things right now, so I'm just trying to spread my messages out to the world.
Share with us your latest novel, your book. It's a long title. I'm going to let you spit it all out for us.
Yeah, well, the short name of the title is Choosing to Take a Stand, but the longer name is Choosing to Take a Stand, Change Me, My Life, and My Destiny.
Okay. And just came out?
It actually came out in May.
Okay.
May or June of this year.
Well, that's not too long.
No.
Share with us, tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so this book basically chronicles my journey over the last couple of years. I experienced some personal difficulties, and, you know, one of the things that I do also is I care for an elderly parent. So with all of the stresses in life, I just happened to wake up one morning and wasn't thinking about committing suicide or anything, but it was just sort of in the room.
Right.
And then I reached out to some other folks and friends and family, and they helped me to sort of recover. So what I write about is my journey back from that moment when I almost committed suicide, and then how did I move out of that? Because taking positive steps forward and taking action to continue to move forward despite what difficulties we have can lead to unknown possibilities and futures, and that's what happened to me.
And what a better person to touch on this subject to have gone through it.
Exactly. And I'm very raw and I'm very personal in my experiences, just as I am in all of my books, because what I like to write about are things that others aren't necessarily willing to talk about, because there's a lot of things that we're all struggling with, but we don't necessarily talk about it. So if I could just for a moment, so if I just go through my book.
Sure.
The first books that I wrote, I wrote these inspirational quotes because I was dealing with some personal challenges. So it was my way to deal with it instead of taking medicine or necessarily going to a doctor. Not that there's anything wrong with those.
Right.
But I chose to write. So I wrote these inspirational quote books. It was only going to be one, and then it ended up being four. And these inspirational quote books are called It's a Crazy World, Learn From It. So there's part one, taking care of me, because if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of anyone else.
That is so true, so true.
Part two is moving forward, because once you've started to take care of yourself, you're ready to move forward. Part three is keeping it going, because once you get to that good spot, you want to keep it going. And then part four is the journey continues, because there's always things that we can continue to do.
Exactly.
And then after I wrote that book, I moved on to a book about my personal story, because one of the things that we don't always relate to as being a positive is being vulnerable.
Right.
So in a lot of my books, I talk about vulnerability and the power of vulnerability. So I wrote my book, Above Expectations, My Story, and it's an unlikely journey from almost failing high school to becoming a college professor, because I was a horrible student in high school. I was directed to leave school in 10th grade, barely graduated from high school, struggled at 2 colleges, and then I was able to turn it around, and years later, I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm teaching college, and I've done a lot of professional activities, and now I'm writing, including, just recently, I got an offer to write as a blogger on the Huffington Post. So,
congratulations.
You just got to continue to go, right?
Yes. My hat's off to you, Stacy. You are doing it. And if you would have told me you were a struggling student, I would have said, no way.
Well, sometimes folks give up on you way too soon. And, especially these students that are in high school that are struggling right now, we can't give up on them that soon, because they just might need a little bit more direction or some inspiration, or just someone to be there to provide them with a little bit of support.
Exactly.
And that can make all the difference.
It can make all the difference in the world. Now, Stacy, how can we find your books, copies of them?
Well, you can find copies of my book on my website at www.slyoung.com. And on my website, there's links to all the things that I'm doing. You have access to my blog, to my books, to some of my videos where I've done some inspirational talks, as well as links to my Huffington Post blog articles. And so if anyone ever wanted to reach out to me on my website, I'm more than willing to speak with any of my potential fans.
Now, Stacy, what are you currently working on?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of writing for the blog on Huffington Post, check that out. But my next book is going to be about my mom and my journey to take care of my mom. So that book is tentatively going to be called I Am My Mother's Keeper, because my mother kept me.
Oh, now, when will that be released? This year, next year?
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to be released early in 2015.
Wonderful.
Early next year.
Early next year release. Well, Stacy, thank you so much. And you're writing on subjects that we call taboo subjects. And we're glad that you're helping a lot of people go through this journey with you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Stacy, I hope to talk to you again. This won't be our last interview, I know.
Oh, I look forward to speaking with you again, and thanks for having me on, and thanks for having other authors on as well.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thanks. Have a great day.